Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Remember 11. Whew, it's been a while since I've played this. Really want to get back into it. But before that, I'd like to review, to refresh my memory a little bit. So, what happened last time is that we found a dead rat. You know, it was crushed. I don't know by who. Poor rat. And maybe we'll find out in Sato's route. Because I'm guessing that the routes, how they take place, is that first we make the choices as Kokoro, or we make the choices as Kokoro, and also like make the choices at Sphere. It also, you know, changes up what happens, you know, when Sato is in Sphere. And in his routes, there will be no choices. This is what I think. I think his routes will have no choices and it'll just be a bunch of texts, you know? Because all the choices were created by Kokoro. That's what I think the routes work. That's how I think how they're gonna work. So once we get to the end of Kokoro's route, then we go to Sato's, but that'll be like, but we have to jump back and review everything we've done, but through the eyes of Sato. So when, you know, Koko's at Sphere, we get to see what Sato sees. Anyway, this is what I think is gonna happen for Sato's route. But you know what? I don't know. I haven't finished Kokoro's route, so but it would make sense if that was the case. You know, we see everything through Sato's perspective, the events that we did with Kokoro. What was I saying? Right. Oh, and we visited the crash site. That crash site, that scene made me sad. You know, Kokoro's like, go bury the people, and she couldn't. Like, it made me just feel sad inside. I'm like, oh. But anyway, enough sadness. Let's continue. Our steps were heavy, but when the cabin came into view, we felt relieved. We still have a place to return to. We have a place to survive in this ruthless world below the freezing point. Oh hey. In front of the cabin, Mayuzumi and Uni were waiting. They had come outside just to welcome us back, in spite of the cold in which they were shivering even now. Uni is waving to us. Seeing that, Yomuki broke into a smile.
帰ったぞ!
Looking triumphant, he raised a hand high, just like a child. Perhaps by doing that in his own way, he was trying to endure the sadness. Yomugi brought out the worn-out teddy bear from inside his backpack. Aww. Oh, I thought it was more, you know, beat up and burned, but no, just missing an ear. He tosses it to Uni.
土産だ。これ、ユニのだろ? 飛行機の中で遊んでたからさ。
Oh, Yomugi remembers that. Catching it and holding it tightly, Uni's face shone.
僕の
TB?
ああ、耳が片方取れちゃって、ちょっと不細工になっちゃったけどな。
Uni hugged the toy tightly. Oh, toy bear.
ありがとうやった
He seems so happy. Or... Yeah, TB could mean toy bear. That's the most logical thing I can think of. Uni runs around in the snow while dancing with the teddy bear. Or teddy bear, yeah. He is in very high spirits. And, while still watching Uni, Yomuki whispered in my ear.
言わなくても分かってると思うが、間違っても死体を見たなんて。
Yeah, that was terrible. Though I answered him thus, I couldn't recover so easily. The scene I saw at the crash site is scorched in my eyes and won't go away. I slipped past the three of them and entered the cabin.
Ne, 私には?
Mayuzumi. From outside the door, I could only hear the voices.
ほらよ!
何よこれ?
便座カバー。女の子は特にないと辛いだろ。いってえな。
Wow.
下ネタは嫌いっつってんでしょ。
冗談だろ。本気になるなよ。ほら、いくつかコートを持ってきてやったよ。ちゃんと女物を選んできたんだからな。
あれ、これって私のと同じコートじゃない。奇遇ね。
Ooh.
君ってブランド信者だろ。
うるさいわね。食料はちゃんと見つけてきたの？
君にはやらん。
なんでよ。
殴ったからだ。
あんたがくだらない冗談かますからでしょうが。わーいわーい、見て見て、クマさんだよ。貸しなさい。ははー、何するんだよ。ふーれふーれ、返してよ。
I lay down on the top bunk bed. I can't laugh innocently like them. Oh, Kokoro. Right. I suddenly remembered. I'll try listening to the VR. Maybe it contained a new message from Sato. But there weren't any newly recorded messages. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to think about anything. The reality of the death of 27 people. The reality that I survived. Pitch black corpses, carbonized and rigged. Corpses without a face. Torsos sunk into their seats. Abdomens torn apart. Feet hanging from branches. Their tragic shapes, stripped of human dignity, strewn around, run through my mind. And suddenly, their faces changed into my own. To get rid of that image, I held my head and shook it. Perhaps I too have become like that. Tomorrow, I might end up the same way. Yomugi behaved as cheerfully as possible. That was his utmost effort to not give up all hope. He's pretty strong, I'd say. But I tremble at the fear of death. Even more so than we thought, we're standing at the very edge of the abyss of death. I don't want to die. I want to live. I don't know how long this weather will hold out. I really hope help comes before it gets bad again. Quickly, help us.
こんにちは。
Hi, Uni.
僕、テディベアの TV だよ。
Before I realized it, Uni and the teddy bear were peeking out from under the top bunk. The round eyes of the teddy bear are looking at me. It favored me with a quick bow.
ふひひ。かわいいでしょ。
Uni smiled sweetly. My chest tightened.
かごめかごめ。
The song again.
後ろの正面だれ。ねえ、どうしてそんな悲しそうな顔してるの、心。
Because I saw a bunch of dead people.
具合悪いの？
I hugged Uni, who was looking at me worriedly tight.
大丈夫。大丈夫だよ。
Oh, don't worry, Kokoro. I'm sad. I'm sad too.
心。絶対に帰ろうね。
We have to live. For the 27 who died. We have to survive. The teddy bear that was between Uni and I began to make sounds as it was pressed against our stomachs. Suddenly, that cry was very far away. Her illness. Wait. Teddy bear was between Uni and I began to make sounds as it pressed against. Suddenly, that cry was very far away. So somebody was crying? There was a yell, or make a sound. Why would a teddy bear make sounds? You know, like like you know when you squeeze a dog toy or something? Probably. I was standing in the sphere living area. Hotori was standing right in front of me. I transferred. I sighed. I hate all of this. I want a break. I want to be fast asleep in my warm bed at home. Still, I'm not allowed to complain. That I know.
分かってるけど。
I feel like complaining a little. Somehow, I shored up my nearly withered willpower. In order to check the time, I made for Sato's room. Oh, that's not good. Surprised, I turned around to face Hotori. Her shoulders were heaving and the breaths she took were ragged. She was tearing at her black hair and violently shaking her head. I've seen something like this once before. A scream rises from her. It's the same. It's exactly the same as when she went berserk before. Hotori was visibly trembling, as though having convulsions. From behind her disheveled hair, bloodshot eyes peer out. They're not focusing. Drool dribbled from her mouth. Staggering, Hotori collapsed on the desk where the PC monitor was sitting. The monitor falls to the ground. With a beastly roar, Hotori raised the chair over her head. Whoa. Panicked, I jumped back. Where in that delicate body had she found the strength to lift up a chair with one hand? Humans in a state of mental confusion, I heard somewhere, are capable of drawing out a strength several times greater than normal. It's the so-called hysterical strength. People, in order to not end up destroying themselves with their own physical strength, usually save their power. But, in a state of psychological upset, cut free from the chains of reason, enters a state close to acting on sheer instinct alone. When the limiter called reason is released, one has the potential to draw out a normally unthinkable superhuman strength. I bit my lip. At any rate, this can't be good.
どうしたの?
Utsumi came out of the room. Her eyes widened on seeing Hotori's alarming state.
来ないで! 危険です!
After stopping Utsumi, I carefully closed the distance between me and Hotori. And then Hotori abruptly threw the chair. If that hits me, I'm done for. Duck to avoid it? But wait, isn't Utsumi behind me? That will hit Utsumi. Fend it off with my hands. That will hurt. Ooh. I'm just gonna duck and avoid it. Let's see what happens. I immediately went into a crouch. The chair grazed my head as it flew over me. I knew it. I whipped around on hearing Utsumi scream. I knew it would hit her. The force of the chair Hotori had thrown had sent it rolling right to where Utsumi was standing. Utsumi has sunk to one knee, clutching her shin. Luckily, it only seems to be a minor injury, but okay, so she wasn't fully hit, but I still knew it would hit her. A furious glare. With frightfully sharp eyes, Utsumi glared at Hotori. Startled, I blinked my eyes. When I opened them again, Utsumi's expression had returned to normal.
大丈夫よ。それより早く彼女を。
More than herself, it was Hotori she was worried about. I was puzzled. The serene impression of Utsumi's, which her unguarded eyes seemed to exude. What was that? Was it just my mistake? Or... Hearing that maddened groaning, I returned to my senses. Hotori cried out, grinding her teeth. Burying her head in her hands, she looked toward the ceiling. No, her eyes are reflecting nothing. I hurried. In this state, there's the risk that Hotori will bite through her tongue. I didn't have any time to waste. I've got to calm her down somehow. Readying myself, I jumped at Hotori. I extended my left arm to pin her down. My body didn't move the way I intended it to. I have almost no feeling in my left arm. Before I realized it, Hotori had landed a punch on my face. Almost staggering, I somehow stood firm and put up with it. It doesn't hurt that much. Psyching up, I measured my distance from Hotori.
落ち着いて。
Then, Hotori incoherently swung both hands. She throws punches in every direction. But, unfaltering, I seize Hotori's wrists. She seems so frail. No, that's not it. Because this is Sato's body, I'm much stronger. However, no matter how strong I am, holding down a girl gone berserk isn't easy. Moreover, I only have the use of my right hand. If I don't do this right, I'll hurt not only myself, but Hotori as well. Resolutely, I held onto Hotori's slender body tightly. I felt her violent shaking through my own body as well.
大丈夫だから。
Even so, Hotori struggled with her entire body, randomly striking my shoulders and head. Hotori's body was small. I wonder if I feel that way because I'm in Sato's body. Hotori was very fragile, almost like she would break if I used any more strength. Because this is Sato's body, adjusting the level that I use is difficult. Being careful not to hurt her, I held fast to her. I wonder how long this has gone on for. Soon, the screams began to die down and her breathing quiets as well. Drained of my strength in my arms, Hotori calmed down. Supporting the unconscious Hotori, I took her to her room. Utsumi and Yuni helped me as well.
お手柄ね、ユキドくん。私。あら、冬川さんだったの？はい。そう。いずれにしてもありがとう。
Utsumi turned to me with a kind smile. It's a bit embarrassing, but this is not the time to be relieved. I've witnessed Hotori's fits twice, despite my limited time in this body. Perhaps her spasms are occurring more frequently. Hotori equals Inubushi diagnosed with DID. If her mental condition becomes unstable, it wouldn't be strange for her to change personalities. And if Inubushi wakes up, thinking that, a cold chill runs up my spine.
あら、ホトリちゃん、気がついた？
Blinking in surprise, she looks up at us.
大丈夫？ホトリちゃん。
I dared to call her name. To confirm she is Hotori. She responded to my call with a slight nod. What a relief, she's Hotori. She pulled the sheets tight around herself and began to tremble again.
まだホスが。
Still tense, Hotori shook her head at us. She got up and fiercely rubbed at her upper arms. She opens her mouth as if in appeal.
何？
Did I hurt her?
どうしたの？
She's trying to talk. But even though she's opening her mouth, nothing comes out. Then she frowned.
これ使えば？
Uni brought a notepad. After taking it, Hotori begins to write with a shaking hand. Her strokes were weak. Maybe there was no strength in her hand. On the note that she handed back, only one word was written. Cold. Aww.
寒いの？でも
The heater in the room was doing its job, even though it should be mildly warm. But Hotori certainly seemed to feel cold. Her lips were a ghastly blue, her teeth chattering against each other.
暖房を強くするわ。
Saying that, Utsumi left the room. Hotori clung to me and tightly squeezed my hand. I smiled and squeezed back in return.
大丈夫だよ。何の心配もいらないから。
I was telling myself that as well. Still holding Hotori's hand, I sat down on the edge of the bed. I took a breath. I took a breath.
ねえ、ほとりちゃんはいつこの施設に来たの？
Hotori silently shook her head. Looks like she doesn't know. If she's the alternate personality of Inubushi Keiko, I guess there's no helping it. I've never met the Inubushi Keiko personality, even though I've already been experiencing the transfer phenomenon for 3 days now. It seems Inubushi has never awakened during that time. Does Inubushi Keiko really have DID? That file. The file Yomugi found at the crash site. I need to reread it one more time. What kind of girl is the Susukage Hotori personality? It might be recorded somewhere. I've got to confirm it. Instinctively, I gave a worn-out sigh. I've been sighing a lot recently. There are so many things I don't understand. And on top of those mysteries, even more problems are showing up now, and I end up leaving them all unfinished. What should I do? Hotori pulled at my hand. She's writing something down on the notepad again. Looking down on it, the words Red Room have been written there. Red Room?
赤い部屋？どういうこと？
Hotori continued writing. Though it was only short words and phrases, what I saw was quite frightening. Red light, seemed warm room. Ah, is she remembering? I think she remembers the murders that her Inubushi Keiko personality did.
ほとりって字下手くそだね。
Ah, shut up, Beauty.
そういうこと言うのはやめなさい。なんで怒ってるのさ？怒ってません。
After saying those curt words, I turned back to Hotori's note and read it over again. The fragmentary state of the writing is probably due to how much Hotori is shaking. She can't even write straight. It kind of gives you a creepy feeling after reading it too.
赤い部屋を見たのね。どこで？スフィアで？
Hotori weakly shook her head. Looks like she doesn't know. At least it appears it's not in Sphia. As far as I know, this facility doesn't have any red rooms. Hotori eagerly wrote a continuation of the note. Cold, dark, locked up, all alone. Oh, didn't we see something earlier? Like, in the beginning, like the prologue? Ooh, my memory's not quite there, but I remember seeing her like, yeah, locked up or something. Red room, enter. There, Hotori hung her head, all worn out. The pen fell to the floor.
無理しないで。
I laid Hotori down on the bed. She docilely complied. The words Hotori wrote, they somehow rang a bell. The Red Room. Is this scenery from inside Hotori's heart? Or could it be something she felt she saw within her mind? It is said when people with DID switch personalities, the personality that is neglected feels like it was left alone in a dark room. Huh. That feeling, isn't it the sense of cold, dark, locked up, alone like Hotori said? And when a switch occurs, the servicing personality moves from the darkness to a bright room. In practice, it's not a bright room, but a usually inexpressible sensation, now somewhere in her mind. That room, in other words, seems to be part of the symbolic scenery related to the physical world. According to the patient, it's not a bright room, but it's represented with another figurative expression, spotlight. If we consider that to Hotori, that's the red room. It's a typical DID case. But Hotori can't understand that she has DID, so she's confused. I'm sure she has very painful thoughts, even more than I do. I want to somehow ease her pain, but with my strength, I can do no more than keep holding her hand like this.
大丈夫だよ。
Just one more time, I murmured those same words. They were nothing more than mere consolation, but I couldn't help saying them.
大丈夫だからね。
Hotori's hand strongly grips mine back. Then abruptly, the feeling of that hand vanishes in a single instant. Ah, we switched already. Interesting. That was quick. Oh gosh.
恋愛運あんまり良くないね。
Okay. I thought he went super serious mode. I'm like, Uni, why? Hotori's hand had changed into that of Uni. No, that's wrong. Uni was holding my hand and fixedly gazing at the palm.
何してるの？ユニ。わ、ボケボケだよ、サトル。は？
Looking at me as I inclined my head at him, Uni suddenly got upset.
やだな、手相見てあげるって言ったでしょ。サトルに？
Satoru.
他に誰がいるのさ。あのサトルがね。
I don't dislike fortune telling. When they do the fortune telling countdown on the morning news, I unconsciously watch it. Girls are like that. But I thought Satoru would be the type who opposes divination. He definitely seems like the kind of person to complain saying stuff like, "Where's the scientific proof?" So I was a little surprised. Uni took a hard look at my face.
もしかして心に戻ったの？うん。
His eyes wide, and while carefully observing my expression, he said,
そっか。ねえ、占い続けていい？途中でやめるのも気持ち悪いからさ。そうね。あ、ちょっと待って。
First, I have to confirm the time. Did she confirm the time? When she got there? Oh, because I thought the wristwatches... Satoru, why? Yet again, he removed the watch from my right arm. Where is it this time? I checked in my pocket. Not here. The ladder of the bunk bed? Not here. Turning my head around, I surveyed the place. Found it. The stuffed teddy bear on the chair. The watch was wrapped around the neck of the plush toy. I take it off and put it back on my wrist. Damn it! Next time, I'll definitely tell him a thing or two. It was 2:28.
ねえ、心。え？ああ、はいはい。手相だったよね。うん。続けさせてくれる？
My Zumi's palm. Yeah. Our own palm reading. I thought that now wasn't the time for something so easygoing, but... I reflexively nodded at Uni's eager expression.
じゃあ、お願いするね。
Uni scanned the palm of my hand.
やっぱり心って恋愛運あんまり良くないね。結婚は遠いかも。え、本当？うん。結婚は運命線を見ればわかるんだけど。何歳ぐらいで結婚するのかな？うん。40代の前半？
Oh, that sucks, Kokoro.
嘘でしょ？
No. That was pretty hard to hear. Though it's the fortune telling of an amateur, being told something like this about yourself is quite a shock. Pushing up his glasses, Uni continued.
でもね、今年は運命的な出会いがあるかもよ。その出会いを大切にすれば、もっと今季は早まるかも。なんなのよ、そのかもっていうのは。
Oh, Uni.
いい加減なこと言って大人をからかうのは良くないわよ。
Uni's expression quickly turned meek.
ち。ココロンは占いってどんなものだと思う？
Somehow, he almost seemed about to launch into a sermon.
何よ、いきなり。いいから答えて。そうね、オカルトっぽいっていうか、神様にお伺いを立てるって感じかな。
Uni nodded in agreement.
そういうのもあるね。だけど手相占いとか占星術はまた別なんだよ。
Ooh, I know astrology. I'm sorry for yawning into the mic. Oh, okay. Astrology. Astrology here refers to Western astrology, a study or skill based on the belief that through the movement of heavenly bodies and their positions at certain times and places, an individual person's horoscope, drawn from the positions of the planets, the 12 signs of the zodiac, and the 12 astrological houses, can be interpreted and used to foretell their future. I mean, I'm not one to believe astrology, but for the certain signs and for personality traits for that person, for most people it's strangely accurate.
どっちかっていうと統計学なんだ。統計学？
I'm not so great with scientific discussion. Just looking at numbers lined up, I go cross-eyed.
例えば観相学ではおでこにシワの多い人はお金持ちになるって言葉があるんだけど。
Oh, sorry. Okay. I actually don't know what phrenology is, so this will tell me. Phrenology, a divination method, supposed to be able to foretell a person's character and destiny based on examination of their cranial structure and facial features. Viewed as a serious school of scientific thought during the Victorian era, but has since been disproved and is now viewed as a quack medical practice. Huh, interesting.
それはお金持ちの人を調べたらおでこにシワの多い人が多かったっていう裏付けがあるから出た結論なんだよ。ロンブローゾの犯罪人類学とちょっと似てるよね。
Lombrosos. And this is probably the last one. Italian anatomist believed that the different types of crimes committed by each criminal corresponded to specific physical traits. Also had an interest in the different types of criminals, which is now remembered as a source of modern criminology. However, his theories are now thought to be incorrect. Huh.
まあロンブローズは大嘘つきだったけどさ。ちょっと待って。
Who the heck is Lombroso? It's all turned into gibberish now. Why does this child know so much about something like this? Oh, that's Uni for you. I pressed my hands to my temples. Somehow, I could feel a headache coming on.
どうしたの？いや、
I wanted to speak more in Japanese, but I simply couldn't tell this to my child opponent.
なんでもない。続けて。変な心。で、どこまで話したっけ？ロンドンブーツ。
London boots. Lombroso.
じゃなかった。ロンブローゾね。
Danger, danger. I wiped around my cold sweat.
ああ、そっか。ロンブローゾはインチキだったけど、観相学はちゃんと信憑性があるものなんだ。サンプリング数が桁違いだからね。手相占いや占星術も同じ。数千年分も積み重ねられてきたデータの集大成なんだ。ね、統計学って言った意味がわかるでしょ？そうね。
When I think of typical fortune telling, no matter how I look at it, it has a somewhat shady image to me. But if you believe Yuni's words, even fortune telling has a scientific basis.
どう？これで信じる気になった？
手相に信憑性があるのは分かったけど、ユニがちゃんと占えるかどうかはまた別の話よね。
あ、ひどいよ。
だって本気が遅いなんて信じたくないし。
Though he pouted, he immediately began to grin broadly. Somehow, it seems like his glasses are shining.
それじゃあ別のこと占ってあげるよ。僕の占いは当たるんだから、絶対に。
Oh, if he says, I know when you're gonna die, that's messed up. With a face that seemed a bit serious, Yuni glared at my palm. It doesn't seem like he'll go until he's done with the fortune telling.
生命線を見ると、ココロンは20歳の時に大きな事故に遭うね。
ダウト。
I lightly prodded Yuni's forehead.
何すんだよ。
今まさに遭遇中じゃない。それって飛行機事故のことでしょ。ユニったらやっぱりインチキ。
そうじゃなくて、手相にもそういう風に出てるんだってば。
ズルはダメ。
No, Yuni. While his face warped with annoyance, Yuni tightened his grip on my hand. Suddenly, his look turned serious.
ココロンはもうじき死体を見るよ。
Why would you say that, Yuni? Why? She already seen a bunch of corpses. But a corpse? Could that mean any of the people could die? I don't know. An unusually grave tone, I was surprised. If it's about corpses, yeah, I already saw them. At that gruesome crash site. I thought he was referring to that, but I was wrong.
刃物で刺された死体だよ。
Oh. What's he saying, this kid? I took a hard look at the eyes of the child in front of me. Yuni's full, round eyes were clear, and so deep I felt like I was being sucked into them. I forgot to even breathe.
気をつけてね。
At Yuni's words, I came to my senses.
じゃないと、ココロンも刺されちゃうからさ。
Gosh, that's creepy. It was a tone that was neither serious nor joking.
やめてよ。そんな冗談嫌いよ。
冗談なんかじゃないって。
Yuni softly caressed the surface of my hand.
これは占い。よく当たるユニの占いだよ。
Sometimes, this kid becomes kinda scary. Yeah, that's for sure. When you think he's just innocently playing with his teddy bear, all of a sudden he'll say with a grown-up face things that make you shiver. I felt an unbalance, as if conflicting things coexisting. Behind this neutral face, I wonder what kind of real nature he's hiding. Distant from my doubts, Yuni sweetly smiled. A carefree smile, that of a child.
ココロンに伝えられてよかった。
Why are you glad? That is something you're not supposed to be glad about.
サトルに言っても意味ないかもしれないし。
Should I trust this smiling face? Swallowing my rising anxiety, I tried to ask him about something else.
ねえ、さっき見たよね。私がサトルと切り替わる瞬間。どんな感じだった？
つまんない感じだよ。ちょっと黙り込んだかなと思ったら急に口調が変わるんだもん。目がピカーッと光ったりとかすればかっこいいのにね。
あんよそれ。
At that moment of transfer, it seems no particular change happens to me on the outside. This too is similar to the personalities of a DID patient switching.
そうだ。DID といえば。
I remembered Hotori. Ah, her file, right. She was talking to me through writing about when her personality changes took place. Before I forgot, I thought I should check through Inubushi's file.
占い、ありがとね。
just in case, I thank Uni and stood up. I wonder what would happen if I told Uni to check on my Izumi instead. Prepare. Be careful not to be stabbed. I have a feeling that's really important. Like, the game itself is foreshadowing that I might get a bad ending already. Just in case, I thank Uni and stood up. I took the Inubushi file Yomiki had retrieved and sat down on the wooden chair. Once again, I opened the file I had looked over many times. Inubushi Keiko, currently age 19. She is the serial killer who, at age 17, murdered 12 innocent people at Awazumi Municipal Hospital. However, due to being diagnosed with DID, she escaped capital punishment and was sent to Sphia. Inubushi Keiko had rewritten the history of crime in Japan in many different ways. Her case marked the largest number of lives ever taken by a serial killer who was a minor. And in the history of crime in Japan, it was in the top place in terms of the number of people murdered by a female. In general, there was no precedent for a female serial killer like her. Until the murderous monster known as the Highway Lady of Death appeared in America, it was even said that women couldn't be serial killers. Of course, she was the first of her kind in Japan. And she was the first person ever to be recognized as suffering from DID in the history of criminal trials in Japan. Before that, court precedent was made. There have been several criminals suspected of having DID. However, there were no cases of trial acquittals by reason of DID until then. The reason was simple. The very existence of a dissociative identity disorder had been disputed. The opinions of those in the field of psychiatry are still divided. That's why, even if brought into consideration during sentencing, it was never used as a reason for a pardon. The past precedent was rewritten, and because of Inubushi Keiko, for the first time, DID became a valid reason for application of Article 39 of the Penal Code. There are various reasons that she was acknowledged as suffering from DID, but the biggest one is said to have been the DSM-VI. What's this? DSM. Okay, there's more pages. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders and Handbook of Diagnostic Criteria for Mental Disorders, published by the American Psychiatric Association. The title is followed by its revision number. Published editions so far include the DSM-I 1952. This manual is, so to speak, a simplified guide to the diagnosis of mental illness. Mental illnesses may affect a person in many forms, and are notoriously difficult to diagnose. It is also not common for separate examining doctors to differ in their diagnosis. To help eliminate such errors, the DSM is used as a guide for doctors to determine the name of the illness based on observed symptoms, by asking the patient certain questions, such as about said patient's condition, and checking their responses against the data in DSM. Even an inexperienced doctor can establish a diagnosis and begin appropriate treatment. Note: since the time the story of Remember 11 takes place, there have been two further editions of DSM, the DSM-4-TR, an expansion of the DSM-4 with updated diagnostic codes and extra information on each diagnosis, and the upcoming DSM-4, planned for 2012. Oh. Well, I don't know anything about this, so is there like a DSM-6 now? Or something? Okay. But the biggest one is to have been the DSM-6, of course, in this fictional universe. The DSM-6 had been published just a few years earlier. The latest revision had been issued in 2008. In the 1994 edition of the DSM-4, the criteria for a DID diagnosis comprised the following 4 points. DSM-4. The fourth revision of the DSM, published in 1994. In this edition, the name of the illness formerly called multiple personality disorder was changed to dissociative identity disorder. It was there that the illness called DID was born. Incidentally, dissociative personality disorder is still referred to as multiple personality disorder in other official writings, such as the ICD-10. In the Japanese edition of the DSM, the latter term is used. Okay. 1. Two or more distinct identities and personalities exist. Possesses awareness, recognition, and cognition of self and surrounding environment, as well as individual personality characteristics. 2. These identities, having at least two distinct personalities, continuously show individual behavior and conduct. 3. Important personal information cannot be recalled, and this by extension cannot be explained with normal forgetfulness. 4. These symptoms are not directly due to the influence of physiological effects of drugs, for example, memory loss or violent behavior due to disorientation from alcohol poisoning, or a result of other general abnormal conditions. If these four criteria are fulfilled, the condition is recognized as dissociative identity disorder. However, even with the establishment of the four criteria above, they couldn't completely rule out the malingers. If two or more personalities could be perfectly acted out, it would be acknowledged as a case of DID. There have also been those who have tried to exploit this through the misuse of psychotropic drugs. As a result, the 2008 edition of DSM-6 included the following appended criterion. 5. The above symptoms appear even while under induced hypnosis. Ooh. In other words, if a different personality arose even during hypnosis, a condition in which the patient is unable to act, they acknowledge it as DID. The addition of this guideline had an influence on the skeptical field of Japanese psychology. In Japan, it became accepted that a person was suffering from DID if the above 5 items were fulfilled. Inubushi Keiko had undergone an examination under hypnosis in accordance with the DSM-6's standards, and was confirmed to have DID. That was acknowledged as evidence in court, and Inubushi Keiko was acquitted as a person suffering from an unsound mind.
我ながらよく覚えてるかも。
That was a lot. Ooh. I was impressed with myself for being able to clearly remember every detail they told us in class. Well, it's a topic that I like, though, so it's only natural that I remember it. I'm interested in humans and society. That's why I decided to study criminal psychology. People are mysterious. Yeah, I agree with you. They have the intelligence to make space travel a reality, and say something like, "I'm a seagull," to express that feeling. Even so, they continue the stupidity that is war, and have temper short enough to enable them to kill someone in a blind rage. They can experience deep love, as well as murder the innocent. Inside a frail body that possesses neither claws nor fangs, humans are filled with chaos. Men have adventurous hearts, searching for glory by traveling to the depths of the ocean and the cosmos. My interest lies in the abyss of the human heart. And while studying criminal psychology, what attracted my interest the most was Inubushi Keiko. I turned to the next page of the file. Inubushi Keiko has dissociative identity disorder. Maybe I should review the case one more time. Ugh. Like review it as in you want to go through it all again and I have to read all that crap? Or what? Don't review it. What happens if I do, though? I'm not gonna review it. Well, I guess I don't really need to. Now then. At first, Inubushi Keiko's DID was thought to have stemmed from early childhood abuse. With that in mind, a thorough investigation was done by the leading psychologist. However, because Inubushi Keiko's mother was already deceased, there was no way to confirm the occurrence of childhood abuse as definite. But in addition to her DID, due to the confirmation that she was suffering from borderline personality disorder, as well as her fragmented testimony, it was widely assumed that she had been the victim of childhood abuse. Oh. And what's this? Borderline personality disorder. Alias. Ambulatory schizophrenia, pre-schizophrenia, schizopill disorder. For a patient to be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, they must display symptoms matching 5 or more of the following criteria: inability to distinguish fantasy from reality, a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships, identity disturbance, markedly persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. 4. Feelings of disconnection from reality. 5. Recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, threats, or self-injuring behavior. 6. Chronic feelings of emptiness. 7. Marked affective instability due to marked reactivity of mood. 8. Inappropriate anger or difficult controlling anger. 9. Transient, stress-related paranoid ideation, delusions or severe dissociative symptoms. 10. Frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined embodiment. Additionally, impulsivity in at least 2 areas that may be self-damaging, including impulsive spending, promiscuous sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating, are observed. A borderline personality disorder suffers personal relationships, self-image, emotional stability, and particularly indulgence in impulsive acts are heavily influenced and impaired by the disorder, with the onset of symptoms typically occurring during adolescence or young adulthood. Though said to be severe impairment to normal life, relatively few of the symptoms are detected by most people. It is characterized by fluctuating emotional states and abnormal outbursts of anger or violence. Furthermore, many sufferers show frantic attempts to avoid abandonment. This feeling often manifests itself in the form of self-harm behaviors. Sufferers often report having a foggy mental state, being unable to perceive things clearly, or feeling as if they will go to pieces, as well as feeling lost and unsure of their own identity. Moreover, many said this feeling of having no self-control is what leads them to start self-injuring. Individuals with borderline personality disorder tend to view the world in black and white, with all people viewed strictly as either enemy or ally. If they think an ally is in danger of leaving them, many individuals will become anxious and deliberately harm themselves or otherwise cause trouble in an effort to get the ally to stay. However, it is important to remember that the individual is not doing these things because they want to, and as with many other similar illnesses of the heart, their behavior does not reflect their true personality. Man, that was a mouthful to read, but interesting. It was said that Enibushi Keiko possessed a total of 11 personalities? For the sake of convenience... For the sake of convenience, her alternate personalities have been alphabetized and assigned letters from A to J. Of course, each of her personalities were given proper names, or so it seems. I say it seems because those things were not recorded anywhere in the file. However, the doctors had also given her common names for each of the 11 personalities from A to K. This was because when the doctors asked for her name, the dissociative disorder would advance and her condition would deteriorate. In addition to calling them A through K for convenience, doctors created nicknames which they used like a code among themselves. Then, I continued to think about these common names. Let's see, aside from the original Enibushi Keiko, who was K? The other 10 from A to J are widely different from the original in terms of personality. For example, C is a child. The nickname given to her by a doctor was Childhood. This was an innocent but extremely quick to cry 6-year-old boy. D is a melancholy young man. That's right, when people have DID, some personalities are male. His name was Darkness. He tended to shut himself up and would try to hurt himself if you took your eyes off him. F was a woman in her late 20s. Her nickname was Frau. Extraordinarily lewd. It seems she even seduced the doctor who was examining her. And then the personality called J. It appears that this one is the personality of the murderous monster. The dogs referred to the shadow side as Jack. It was most likely a trivial reference to Jack the Ripper, I was just about to say that. Similar to Inubushi Keiko, a 17-year-old at the time of the incident woman, but possessing strong destructive urges and sadistic hobbies. In other words, she derived pleasure from the act of murder. According to the file, Jay had appeared while Inubushi was being held in the examination room, where she snatched up a pair of scissors and murdered the doctor. It was also judged that the Awazumi serial murders were committed by Jay. The original personality of Inubushi Keiko was unable to stop the violence of Jay. Because of that, in accordance with Article 39 of the Criminal Code, Inubushi Keiko was judged to be in an unsound mind and was pardoned. Whether a personality known as Tsusukage Hotori was included as one of the 11 inside Inubushi Keiko.
いた。
Oh, the H personality. A girl with a shy and calm character, age 19. She had a fondness for listening to music, so her given nickname was Hummingbird. H. Hotori. Is this the personality of Susukage Hotori? Of course, there is the possibility that Susukage Hotori is an unknown 12th personality. In any case, I'm convinced that Hotori is another personality within Inubushi Keiko. My reason was...
ほとりの言葉。実際に DID を体験してないと、あのセリフは出てこないよね。
That's right. Tori told me herself, didn't she? Cold, dark, locked up, all alone. Red room, enter. Those were perfectly consistent with the feelings expressed by other people with DID. I remember Hotori's face. Unable to even conceive of such a thing as killing 12 innocent people, a girl wearing a worried smile.
やっぱり間違いない。ほとりは犬伏恵子の別人格なんだわ。
I was convinced. And at the same time, I feel that I had to focus more clearly. I can't confirm anything beside Hotori's condition yet, but if she is another DID personality, then behind her lurks Inubushi Keiko, personality of a murderous monster.
気をつけなくちゃ。
Muttering that as though to convince myself, I closed the file. Whew, that was a lot.
熱心に読んでるな。
Do I go or do I stop? Ooh. No, my throat, my voice hurts. I'm stopping here. Old wise man, so this must be Yomiki's theme. Anyway, what did we learn today? We learned a lot about Hotori and Inubushi Keiko. That was mainly this episode. Whew, that was a lot of reading, but it was good to know. Oh gosh, I'm burnt out. Yeah. But that's really all we... Yeah, that's really all we, Alright, yeah, that's really all we... You know, and then we saw one of Hotori's personalities just coming awake when we stopped her. So yeah, a lot about Inubushi Keiko we learned today. That's pretty much it. I mean, I didn't really mind. Ugh, I'm stupid. Okay. Well, I was dumb. I pressed load instead of frickin' save. Yeah. Right, Yomiki told us if I'm reading that enthusiastically. Okay. Save. Whew. Well, that's it for me today. Thank you a lot, and that's our next episode. Yay. Soon, maybe, I don't know. Oh, also, I noticed. It says Kokoro chapter 1 out of 13. First time I opened up this game, it said 1 out of 11. And then a few episodes later, it said 1 out of 12, so... I don't know what that means. Maybe the endings, or... I don't know what that means, but... Oh well. Bye.